Hey, what's up everybody? OJ here. Welcome back to another Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition video. And I feel it. There's just something in my body that I feel that there's going to be some information sometime soon about Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition on the Nintendo Switch. Now, we've got a couple of, I wouldn't say leaks, but we had a couple retailers talk about potential release dates for the game coming up pretty soon here in the spring. I do feel that it does seem like a spring / early summer type of game, 10-year anniversary. So I wanted to talk about something that I see quite a bit online, and I think that people don't really understand what's going on. At least most people do, but there's still some Nintendo fans out there. Anytime that I look at footage or I look at my own videos, people talk about Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition being some type of just remaster, a 1080p version of the original Wii game. And I'm here to tell you guys definitively, Definitive Edition, that is not the case with this game. Otherwise, Nintendo probably wouldn't have been, talking about it as much as they, in terms of like the positioning of the game, right? The fact that it was a ending game for a Nintendo Direct. That usually is reserved for something big, not a 1080p version of an older game, which Nintendo has put out many times, right? I mean, or Nintendo's put out re-releases of games with just higher resolutions, like a Tokyo Mirage Sessions or Mario Kart 8, for example. So this is not that. Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition is a remake of the game. It is a full remake of the game, which seemingly is using their newer Xenoblade Chronicles 2 engine. And even if you want to go a little bit further, it seems like they're using their Xenoblade Chronicles Torn of the Golden Country kind of enhanced engine that they were using there, because that actually got a little bit of an engine tweak from the base game to Torn of the Golden Country. Torna looks better in terms of the grass and some of the details and everything. So it seems like they're kind of using that. So it's not necessarily the same thing that they've had on the Wii, which some people were trying to kind of say it is, but it definitely doesn't seem like that based off of what Monolith Soft has stated in the past in terms of what they're going to be doing going forward, and just essentially just looking at the game, looking at the grass, looking at the textures, looking at the details. But this game is, in my opinion, definitely a remake of the original Xenoblade Chronicles, and I'm going to go over multiple examples here just talking about this. You can simply just use your eyes first and foremost and look at the style of the original game, then compare that to the Definitive Edition. There is a clear texture and model changes just by looking at it. I'm not exactly sure why some people think that there is some type of 1080p remastering or just upscaling to this, and somehow it turns out to look like the way that it looks with the complete art changes in addition to model changes as well. You can see that there's definitely more polygons packed in to what they're doing here on the Definitive Edition, and on top of that, it just outright looks different in terms of how certain things are. Now, of course, it's a remake of the original, so you're going to see some similarities with the designs in terms of the original shapes and stuff like that for some of the characters, because they wanted it to look like the original. But overall, graphics wise, definitely higher fidelity in every single type of aspect. I mean, if you're talking about the color, in terms of talking about the models, the textures, everything is just better looking. Everything just seems a lot more fluid based off of the small footage that we've seen so far. And if you want to compare it to something else Nintendo's done, I think that the main difference is, let's say you take a game like The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD. That game, they took the original GameCube game, the original Wii game, and that game, they just kind of upscaled it to 1080p. You can tell because if you look at that game, just compare the models side by side. Look at Link side by side. Essentially the same thing, just sharper resolution. Just sharper resolution on there. There's no outright model change. It just looks a bit sharper. Whereas in Xenoblade Chronicles, it has a completely different look. You can tell that it's a different model, different textures on there outside of just, we're going to sharpen this up. Because if you take The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess on Dolphin and you upscale it to 1080p, looks very similar to what The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD looks on the Wii U. Very similar to that. Whereas if you take Xenoblade Chronicles on Dolphin, the upscale to 1080p, you compare that to Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, there's still a very big difference between the two, because the upscale version of the game running via Dolphin looks very much like the game originally running on the Wii, but just much sharper. Very similar to how Twilight Princess is to Twilight Princess HD. So that's kind of how I can kind of see there is definitely a difference here. I mean, we've seen it before too. This is not just Nintendo. Sony's done this before, right? You can even take a game, and I think a very good comparison would be Shadow of the Colossus, right? Shadow of the Colossus, you can take that game because that game originally launched on the PS2, and of course that's 480p, obviously not high definition or anything like that. But then they took that game and they bundled it with Ico and then released it on the PS3, and it's just a sharper version of that PS2 upscale. It still looks really good, but it's the 1080p version of that original PS2 game. But then you have the Shadow of the Colossus on the PlayStation 4, which is a remake of it. It looks obviously completely different. Yes, the models in terms of textures and everything, they're trying to make it look the same, but overall looks completely different when it comes to it because it's a remake of the game from Bluepoint. So I think that this is kind of the thought path that this game is going in when it comes to Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. On top of that, they're adding a bunch of cool stuff to the game, seemingly. It seems like it. Now, we don't have a ton of information about the game right now at this point, and that's probably going to be changing sometime soon here whenever Nintendo decides to do their Direct. But we did see that there is going to be that new area that was cut out of the original base game. So it looks like they're going to be adding that back in. And when you add that definitive edition to the title, you know there's going to be some really cool things added in. I feel that they're going to upgrade this game in every single little aspect, not just visual fidelity, not just that new area, but I think there's going to be gameplay updates and there's going to be new additions that surprise and delight fans out there. Monolith Soft is known for doing stuff like this, especially when they have to double down on a game that's as beloved as the original Xenoblade Chronicles. This is where their legend, when it comes to their legend with Nintendo, really started, in my opinion, is the Xenoblade franchise, because it's their best-selling franchise out of anything that they've done in terms of post-Square Enix, when they were actually known as Monolith Soft. So I think that this one is really going to be pretty good. They're going to go all out on this one, and we're going to see some awesome stuff from Monolith Soft and Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. Now, one more thing that I wanted to touch on when it comes to this remaster and remake stuff and everything like that. Another thing that you can kind of look at with this is, once again, just the side-by-side comparisons and stuff like that. But I also think that if you look at the scope of the game and what they showed off, that Horizon shot, right, when they were just kind of panning a little bit and they purposefully put in that new area, to me that just tells me, like, yeah, this is something a bit different. This is something that's going to be new. There's going to be more stuff added in here. It's not just a simple remake, which some people are trying to just put this game out to be like, oh, it's not really much or anything like that. But anybody who's played the original Xenoblade Chronicles and the type of content that's in that game knows that we're in for a treat. This is one of the best games of the 7th generation, hands down, at least in my opinion, one of the best games of the 7th generation, one of the best RPGs, in my opinion, of all time. And I think that when you give Monolith Soft the time and you give them the budget to create something bigger than what they've had before, they always do an amazing job. So I'm thinking that they're very, very excited, and they're probably like chomping at the bit to show us more about this game. I mean, we haven't heard much from the Monolith Soft people when it comes to what they're doing, but I think that this is going to be one of their showcase pieces, along with their secret new IP that they've been working on for quite some time now. Monolith Soft has just been expanding and expanding, so I think we're going to see a lot of great things from them coming up fairly soon here. So what are you guys' thoughts on Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition? What are you most excited to check out in this game? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Check out the link in the description. We've got Twitter, go ahead and give us a follow and stay updated on all the latest gaming information and news. Also, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and share the video if you can. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.